So boys, we've been getting a lot of Sandbox details from Bungie. So much so that this was split between 2 different videos and 2 different twabs. A lot of stuff that's being thrown at us. And the highlight items, exotics that are getting buffs, those are the things that always jump out to us. Subclasses, and then the other things, the things that sit at the bottom of the barrel, simply because they're just not the eye candy pieces. Everyone knows what Crimson is, and everybody's on board for a Sunshot buff. But who in the hell cares about Har's Lease, or Claws of the Wolf, or Outlast? Probably nobody, which is why Bungie is giving it the Clever Dragon treatment. Now for my D2 only players, there was a meta a long time ago in which a pulse rifle completely dominated the Crucible. I feel like we've told this story like 100 times already, but that's how bad it was. Crucible was a scary place at that time, and it was because Clever Dragon had a formula that made it the best pulse rifle in the game. And you know what that formula was? It was literally mathematically better than everything. It had a faster time to kill, it was rapid fire, it caused a lot of flinch. When the devs want a weapon to be good, by God, it can be good. And it was good. Now the magic number that Clever Dragon was hitting back then was a whopping 23 per crit and 16 per body, which easily allowed this pulse rifle to kill Guardians in 0.8 seconds and 7 crits in 2 body. 3 bursts, that's all it took. And it was forgiving on top of that. Now lo and behold, let's take a look at this change, because I know we went over it the other day, but we just didn't really talk about how impactful this is about to be inside of Crucible. First up, archetype specific damage changes, which impacts both PvE and PvP gameplay. Rapid fire pulse rifles will now deal 14 per body shot and 23.8 per precision shot. Previously, this was 13 per body and 21.4. And that's about 11.2% increase there in crit damage, which may not seem like a big buff, but it's pretty substantial, especially in something like PvP. And notice that that number, 23.8, fellas, that's more damage than something like Clever Dragon was hitting. Now, I don't know how much more, like Clever could be hitting like 23.4, we just didn't know. And of course, it rounded down. Regardless though, being a rapid fire pulse rifle already shooting at 540 rounds per minute, this weapon already has a 0.8 second time to kill. It is already matching that of Clever. The only issue has been the weapon was a little less forgiving, requiring your shots to be all crits. But lo and behold, even with their body shot damage here being 2 less than that of Clever Dragon's back in its heyday, it can still kill you in 7 crits in 2 body, which again, substantially just increased the forgiveness here for these rapid fire pulse rifles. So if you haven't been introduced yet, you will be shortly, because weapons like Har's Lease, Outlast, Claws of the Wolf, these 3 pulse rifles are going to be extremely deadly inside of Crucible. And we knew that a pulse rifle meta was coming, considering that our people that played Destiny 2 at PAX saw high impact pulse rifles and the damage increase that they had. And I assumed that it was just going to be a high impact pulse rifle buff, but I was not expecting both sides of the spectrum being hit here. Now, the one saving grace for those of us that are having some massive amounts of PTSD right now is this notation right here. Pulse rifles will receive an increase in effects of damage range fall off on this weapon archetype. So just in general, I think all pulse rifles are going to be affected to rein their ranges in. Now, how much is it going to affect each specific archetype? I have no idea. When I'm saying it may actually be like a bell curve, meaning it affects like high impact pulse rifles a little less and rapid fire pulse rifles a little more. You see what I mean? And maybe something else in between all that. Regardless though, this is really going to drive the god rolls that we previously mentioned when reviewing things like Claws of the Wolf, Har's Lease, and Outlast to be much different in this next meta if something like range fall off is going to be super severe. Number 1, rangefinder is going to be a must on these rapid fire pulse rifles. And already here recently in this gameplay you see Har's Lease. This is with rangefinder and moving target together. This is the best roll pulse rifle I have ever used in terms of just consistency. And even though you don't have rolls here that's increasing its lethality, that's all right, because you're going to get 11% buff here in a few weeks anyways. So kill clip and rampage on those pulse rifles, they're not bad, but I don't think they're going to be necessary. But depending on how bad that damage fall off is, something like rangefinder could absolutely be necessary. So guys, those are the things that really stuck out to me the most in these Sandbox details. Again, everything looks great, especially our exotic changes, but this is like one of those things that Bungie just kind of like snuck in there. And I've seen it firsthand, what a rapid fire pulse rifle meta looks like. And it's dangerous. Some people like it, some people don't. But regardless of whether or not we like it, it is well on its way. So if you got time, grind out for an Outlast. Again, you can get it from either Gambit Prime or from Reckoning. Or if you do the Strike the Corrupted, you can get Har's Lease. Ames, which is actually personally my favorite. It's a beautiful pulse rifle. And for my Ironbender players, I'm sure you have a Claws of the Wolf, which I like Claws, but now that I've played a lot more with Outlast and a lot more with Horus Lease, to me, it's Horus Lease being number 1, and then Outlast and Claws being like tied at number 2. Like they're right there neck and neck. They're essentially the same. And there's not much variation between what each of these weapons can roll with. You just definitely want to really consider something like rangefinder going into this next meta. Well, fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.